yesterday we learned that, unfortunately, the Congressional Black Caucus endorsed Eliot Engel in his congressional run, his reelection run in New York, over Jamaal Bowman. Now, I say unfortunately because, number one, Jamaal Bowman is a true progressive who genuinely cares about progressive issues. But more importantly, recently we learned that not only did Eliot Engel fail to even visit his district for months, when he was given the opportunity to actually talk about a serious issue that's happening throughout the country right now, and that's the issue of police brutality, he made it clear that he didn't really care too much about it and only wanted to address it because he's facing a primary run by Jamaal Bowman. Now we're learning that there are Republicans endorsing Eliot Engel because, of course, this was a great report by The Intercept, and I want to give you some of these details. There's a super PAC that's called Americans for Tomorrow's Future. The PAC's treasurer, David Satterfield, is a former aide to one-time Republican Senate leader Bill Frist. Satterfield works now at the Huckaby Davis Lisker, a prominent firm that does election compliance and accounting work for Republican campaigns. This cycle, the firm is handling the accounts for the National Republican Senatorial Committee, National Republican Congressional Committee, and the campaign of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, among dozens of other GOP operations. So let me give you some of these numbers, Nando, and I want to get your reaction. This PAC, presumably due to its visible Republican ties, is not spending directly in Engel's New York primary. Instead, it's doing all of these tricky things, like, for instance, funneling $100,000 to another super PAC called Democratic Majority for Israel. And they did this on May 27th. DMFI is a controversial operation within the Democratic coalition. They spent $800,000 against Bernie Sanders during the Democratic primary with the help from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, also known as AIPAC, of course. So that's how the money was funneled into an organization that is somehow tied to the Democratic Party. But the point is, the money's coming from Republicans who are clearly terrified that a progressive could take the place of Eliot Engel in this congressional seat. And let me just note that as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Engel is incredibly conservative when it comes to foreign policy. He's particularly conservative when it comes to issues related to Israel. So that's probably the reason why they want to keep him in place. And of course, Nancy Pelosi has also endorsed Eliot Engel.
Yeah, I mean, Eliot Engel, let's not mince words, is one of the worst Democrats in Congress. He's been there forever. I think he's been there for 30 years. He's just the classic, when you think of corrupt machine politician from New York who is immovable or seemingly immovable, barely even faces a challenge to his power at any given point throughout his career. He's just what we think of when we think of a awful corporatist Democrat who his only job is to reinforce this horrible status quo, which is why, Republicans are coming to his savior. That's the reality, is that they're terrified of having another AOC. I mean, that's just really what it is. They see how much damage to their cause one person like AOC could do. To have 10, 12, 30, 40 of those, that's intolerable, so Jamaal Bowman is a mortal threat to a lot of these people and a lot of their interests. And because they want to, it's not just that they're not worried about losing the votes on any particularly big issue, is they don't even want dissent within the ranks. I mean, they can't even tolerate just having that voice in there on the national stage with a national platform talking about these issues. They want to completely stamp it out. So yeah, I mean, it's the least surprising thing in the world that, all of the Democratic Party establishment has tried to come to Eliot Engel's aid, including obviously Hillary Clinton, and the only race she's weighing in on in this cycle so far is this Eliot Engel race. And then the Congressional Black Caucus, like you said, it's just hilarious that the Congressional Black Caucus, which has become kind of a tool for establishment politics, is endorsing this white man over a young black progressive. I mean, it just, the world is upside down. Up is down, black is white. It's just a crazy, yeah.
And to that point, yeah, I believe in the importance of having diversity in Congress. I think when you have true diversity, not like tokenism, you have perspectives that desperately need to be, shared in these debates, in these congressional debates when it comes to various policy issues. I think that's a real problem that we have in Congress right now. On the other hand, I want to be clear that I don't think that, if it's the Congressional Black Caucus endorsing someone, they have to endorse someone who's Black over someone who's white. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that Eliot Engel and his complete and utter disregard for very real issues in this country right now that are negatively impacting the Black community should have at least given the Congressional Black Caucus some pause. And what am I referring to? Well, I'm referring to Eliot Engel finally visiting his district for the first time in months, to address the Black Lives Matter protesters. And here's what he had to say about them.
Then I got to then go down the list, and it's just too many folks here.
If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care.
Say that again?
If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care.
Don't do that to me. We're not going to do this.
He said, if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care, in case you guys are listening to the audio version of the show and you couldn't make that out. But he doesn't care about something that has brutalized the Black community for so long. And of course, that's police violence and brutality.
No, and to be clear, like I'm just making this like narrow identity point because they use that kind of thing as a weapon in the opposite direction all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. Like if it were, obviously if Bernie Sanders weighed in and endorsed like a white man over, a Black woman, that would be the line of attack. I mean, that would absolutely be the line of attack, But in this case, that doesn't work that way. And I wonder why. Mostly because these attacks are always disingenuous and they don't really believe in any of that stuff. Right. They believe in power and anyone who's going to uphold the power which they care to hold. So this is one of the more blatant examples of that.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed that out because the use of identity politics in order to destroy the political careers of progressives is a common trick. We've seen it happen over and over again. But when push comes to shove, when it comes to like the substantive issues that would actually better the lives of various groups of people in this country who have gotten, the short end of everything for forever, they don't endorse the candidates who actually have some solutions. And by the way, Jamaal Bowman was interviewed on The Conversation today. Please definitely check that out so you can hear his ideas in case you're unfamiliar with him. He's an awesome progressive candidate. And as you mentioned, you're absolutely right. Hillary Clinton stepped in and decided to endorse Eliot Engel over Jamaal Bowman. No surprise there. But what I did love, Nando, and I want to get your reaction to this, was how Eliot Engel had like this weird meltdown when Representative Ocasio-Cortez decided to endorse Jamaal Bowman. Here's that moment.
This is not a dictatorship. This is the democracy. We shouldn't have one person from high, even though she's a colleague of mine, think that she can anoint whoever is elected to Congress. That's not what democracy is all about.
Yeah, so simply endorsing his opponent makes AOC a dictator. So does that mean Hillary Clinton's a dictator? Does it mean Nancy Pelosi is dictators? Is he calling members of the Congressional Black Caucus dictators?
Yeah, I mean, he's basically saying that AOC's endorsement, it makes her like Kim Jong-un or something, like this is North Korea. Yeah, I mean, in the specific case of Eliot Engel, it shows just how comfortable he's become kind of in power and how used to the fact that he never gets challenged on anything. That's just the reality of his life, is just that he doesn't have to sweat for anything. He's just sailed through re-election for 30 years. And now that he has a real challenge, he sees it as like some sort of undemocratic affront, but like, yeah, of course, Hillary Clinton has infinitely more actual power than AOC. AOC is just a junior congressman who's been in Congress for 2 years. Hillary Clinton is a scion of this dynastic political family, maybe the most powerful political family in the history of Democratic politics. So Democratic Party politics. So yeah, it's not quite the same thing.
Definitely. Well, if you want to learn more about Jamaal Bowman, you can visit his website, bowmanforcongress.com. And you can also donate and volunteer at myurls.co/Jamaal Bowman. And there's his Twitter account as well, Jamaal Bowman NY at Twitter. So yeah, we'll see how this race goes. But I love watching establishment Democrats shake and panic over the thought of another progressive taking over a congressional seat.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.